There is a psalm that the heavens use as a bridge between human need and divine provision. A psalm that, when spoken with true faith, moves financial mountains and restores family structures. I will reveal this psalm to you today, but first, I need you to understand something fundamental. It's not about repeating empty words. It's about activating a spiritual frequency that heaven instantly recognizes. You are here because the numbers don't add up at the end of the month. Because you look at your family and feel you can't give them what they deserve. Because you woke up in the middle of the night with that tightness in your chest, mentally calculating the bills due and the money you don't have. I know this, and heaven knows it too. Every tear you've shed in silence, every time you pretended to be okay when inside you were falling apart, every night you asked for a miracle before sleeping, all of this is recorded, and today is no coincidence that you're hearing this message. Let me tell you something that will change your perspective. The scarcity in your life is not divine punishment. It's not because you're unworthy. It's not because God has forgotten you. Scarcity exists because there are spiritual forces trying to block the flow of blessings already destined for your life. Imagine a mighty river of provision coming from heaven, but there's an invisible dam preventing it from reaching you. The psalm I will reveal is the spiritual dynamite that explodes these dams. But before revealing which one it is, you need to understand something crucial. There are people who know this psalm, read it every day, but never see results. Do you know why? Because they haven't understood the secret I'm about to share. This psalm is not a magic formula. It's a key that only works when you understand which door it opens. The door isn't the banks. It's not the door of employment. It's not the door of opportunity. The door is God's heart. And when God's heart opens to your need, the entire universe reorganizes to provide. If you're feeling something different now, a warmth in your chest, a tingling in your hands, it's because your spirit is recognizing truth. Keep listening, because what comes next will unlock years of financial and family stagnation. The psalm I will reveal has been used by generations of faithful who have seen supernatural provisions. There are reports of people on the brink of bankruptcy who received unexpected offers within days. Families that were falling apart reconciled after praying together with this psalm. I'm not talking about coincidences. I'm talking about direct divine intervention in physical reality. Now pay attention to this. When God decides to bless someone financially, He doesn't just put money in the account. He transforms the person's very ability to generate and manage resources. He opens the mind to strategies you didn't see before. He connects you with the right people at the right time. He makes doors open where there were only walls. And it all begins when you activate the right frequency through prayer with this specific psalm. Have you noticed how some people seem to have ease with money while others struggle their whole lives? It's not luck. It's not just effort. It's spiritual alignment. It's living in the frequency of divine provision instead of living in the frequency of scarcity. And this psalm is the tuning fork that tunes your spirit to the right frequency. If you feel this message is speaking directly to your situation, write in the comments, "I receive provision." Because when you declare, you activate. When you write, you establish a covenant. When you publicly witness your faith, you're telling the spiritual universe that you're ready to receive. Now let's get to the psalm. It's Psalm 37. But it's not just any verse. There are specific passages in this psalm that work as spiritual activation codes for provision and family restoration. Let me explain why this psalm is so powerful. Psalm 37 was written by David, a man who knew both scarcity and abundance. He was a shepherd, a fugitive, a warrior, and a king. He went hungry in the desert and feasted in palaces. When he wrote this psalm, he wasn't theorizing about divine provision. He was testifying to what he had lived. Every word of this psalm is soaked in real experience, in supernatural trials, in tangible miracles. Verse 25 says, "I was young and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread." Do you understand the magnitude of this statement? David is saying that in his entire long life, in all the situations he witnessed, he never saw a person truly aligned with God being left to their own fate. He never saw that person's children in need. This isn't just a nice observation, it's a spiritual law. When you position yourself as righteous before God, when your heart is sincerely seeking to live in righteousness, you activate a supernatural protection over your finances and your family. It doesn't mean challenges won't come. It means that in the midst of the challenge, provision appears. In the midst of the crisis, the miracle manifests. But there's more. Verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." The key word here is delight. It's not just praying, it's not just asking, it's delighting, it's finding pleasure in God's presence. It's making communion with the divine something you desire, not just something you need. Do you know the secret most people miss? They come to God only when they need to. They come only to ask. They come only in crisis. But when you delight in God, when you seek His presence, not for what He can give, but for who He is, something changes in the spiritual atmosphere around you. The heavens begin to conspire in your favor. Doors begin to open without you forcing them. Opportunities begin to appear without you hunting for them. And then comes verse 5, which is absolutely transformative. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. Commit. Don't control. Don't manipulate. Don't force. Commit. There's a huge difference between doing your part responsibly and trying to control every detail out of fear. Fear blocks the flow of blessings. Trust releases it. When you commit your way to God, you're saying, "Father, I will work, I will strive, I will do what is within my reach, but I recognize that the final outcome is in your hands." And when you do this sincerely, something supernatural happens. God acts. He will act. It's a promise, not a possibility. If so far you're feeling your heart beat faster, it's because your spirit is recognizing truth. Write in the comments, "God is acting in my life." Declare it. Because faith without declaration is like seed without planting. Now let me teach you how to use this psalm in a practical and powerful way. It's not about mechanically repeating verses. It's about praying with understanding, with faith, with expectation. It's about creating a spiritual ritual that tunes your entire being to the frequency of divine provision. First, you need to set aside a moment in your day, preferably in the morning, before the day's worries invade your mind, or at night when the house is quiet. The important thing is that it's a time when you can have intimacy with God without interruptions. Second, you're not just going to read the psalm. You're going to meditate on it. Read slowly, verse by verse. Let each word penetrate your spirit. When you read, do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of those who do wrong. You don't just read it. You let this truth disarm the anxiety you feel when you see other people prospering while you struggle. Third, you're going to personalize the prayer. After reading a verse, you talk to God about it. For example, after reading verse 4 about delighting in the Lord, you say, "Father, I want to delight in you. Teach me to find joy in your presence, not just in the answers I seek. Make my heart sensitive to your voice." Fourth, and this is crucial, you will declare the promises of this psalm over your life and your family. You will say out loud, "Just as David never saw the righteous forsaken, I declare that my family will not be forsaken. I declare that my children will not beg for bread. I declare that God's provision is flowing into my life now." Fifth, you will give thanks before seeing the result. This is the point where most fail. They ask but do not give thanks. But anticipated gratitude is the language of mature faith. When you thank God for the provision before it arrives, you are saying, "I trust your word so much that I am already celebrating the answer." Now there is something specific about Psalm 37 that you need to understand to maximize its power in your life. This psalm is divided into 3 spiritual movements: instruction on how to live, promises of provision, and revelation about the destiny of the righteous versus the wicked. Each part has a specific function. The first part, verses 1 to 11, is about positioning. God is teaching you how to position yourself spiritually to receive. Do not be angry. Do not be envious. Trust. Delight. Commit. These are commands, not suggestions, because the attitude of your heart determines what you attract spiritually. Have you noticed how when you are angry, anxious, envious, things seem to get worse? It is not a coincidence. Negative emotional frequency blocks the flow of blessings. It is like trying to tune into a radio station while there is a lot of static. The message is being transmitted, but you cannot pick it up clearly. When you follow the instructions of this first part of the psalm, you are clearing the static. You are adjusting the antenna of your spirit. And then, the blessings that are already being sent can reach you. The second part, verses 12 to 26, is where the promises become specific. Here David speaks about inheritance, about prosperity, about divine protection. He says in verse 19, "In times of calamity they will not be put to shame. In times of famine they will have plenty." This is supernatural provision. This is having when the world does not have. This is a financial miracle in the midst of economic crisis. And look at verse 21. "The wicked borrow and do not repay, but the righteous are generous and give." This is one of the most powerful keys. When you are in the frequency of divine provision, you not only receive, you become a channel. You receive to give. And the more you give with joy, the more you receive. It is the principle of the divine storehouse. The more you take out to bless others, the more God fills it. I have seen people who were up to their necks in debt start tithing and giving, even without having much, and in a matter of months see their finances supernaturally reorganize. Debts being forgiven, interest being cancelled, opportunities arising out of nowhere. It is not human logic, it is heavenly mathematics. If you feel this message is touching something deep in you, write in the comments, "I am a channel of blessings." Because when you declare, you activate, and when you activate, heaven responds. The third part of the psalm, verses 27 to 40, speaks about the future, about inheritance, about generations. And here is something beautiful. God is not thinking only of you. He is thinking of your children, your grandchildren, the lineage that comes from you. When you pray this psalm, you are not praying only for your provision. You are breaking generational curses of poverty and activating generational blessings of prosperity. Verse 28 says, "For the Lord loves justice and does not forsake his faithful ones. They will be protected forever." Forever. It is not a temporary blessing. It is not an isolated miracle. It is a permanent covering. It's a mark on your spirit that says, this one belongs to God, and what belongs to God does not go without. Now, there's a deep revelation I need to share about how this psalm works specifically in family situations. When there is conflict in the family, when there is distance, when there are hurts and resentments, this creates spiritual holes through which blessings escape. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much God pours, it leaks out through family conflicts. Psalm 37 has a reconciling power because it speaks about justice, about peace, about inheritance. When you pray this psalm for your family, you're not just asking for money. You're asking for the restoration of bonds. You're asking God to heal emotional wounds that have become financial blockages. Many families do not prosper together because there is competition instead of cooperation. There is envy instead of mutual celebration. There are old grudges that no one wants to forgive, and as long as this persists, the collective blessing cannot flow. But when you start praying this psalm for your family, you are creating a spiritual covering that forces darkness to retreat and allows the light of reconciliation to enter. I know families that were broken, where siblings didn't speak to each other, where parents and children were distant, and when someone started persistently praying Psalm 37 over that family, within weeks unexpected encounters began to happen, conversations that hadn't occurred in years, requests for forgiveness, reconciling hugs, and along with the restoration of relationships came financial blessings. Because God does not separate one thing from the other. Understand this. When your family is spiritually united, you become an army. One can chase 1,000, but two can chase 10,000. When there is family unity in prayer, in faith, in purpose, spiritual power multiplies exponentially. The enemy knows this. That's why he works so hard to divide families. Because a divided family is a vulnerable family, but a family united under God's covering is invincible. Now let me give you a practical protocol for how to pray Psalm 37 specifically for financial provision and family miracles. This protocol has been tested by countless people and has generated powerful testimonies. For 40 days, you will do the following. Every morning before starting your day, you will read the entire Psalm 37 out loud, not in your mind, out loud. Because when you declare it out loud, you are creating a physical vibration that affects the spiritual atmosphere around you. You are literally shaping reality with your words of faith. After reading the entire psalm, you will set aside 3 specific verses to meditate on and declare with emphasis. I suggest verses 4, 5, and 25. You will read each one 3 times, slowly, letting the word sink in. And after each verse, you will make a personalized declaration. For example, after reading verse 4, you declare, I delight myself in the Lord, and He is granting the desires of my heart now. I desire provision for my family. I desire peace in my home. I desire multiplication of resources, and God is providing all of this at this moment. After reading verse 5, you declare, I commit my way to the Lord. I fully trust in Him, and He is acting in my life now. Doors are opening, the right people are being sent, opportunities are arising, because I trusted and God is acting. After reading verse 25, you declare, I am righteous in God's eyes through Christ, and as David declared that he had never seen the righteous forsaken, I believe that I and my family will not be forsaken. Our bread is guaranteed, our provision is secured, our future is protected. If you are feeling a deep conviction right now, write in the comments, I declare provision over my family, because your declaration has power. Because when you stand firm in what you believe, heaven bears witness and acts. After these declarations, you will do something crucial. You will visualize. Close your eyes and mentally see your bank account with the balance you need. See your family gathered in harmony. See your bills paid. See your children well provided for. It's not empty imagination, it's active faith. It's creating in the spiritual what you want to see in the natural, because everything that exists in the natural first existed in the spiritual. Jesus said, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. You have already received it. Past tense. You believe you have received before having it in your hand. This is faith. This is what moves mountains. This is what opens heavenly vaults. After visualization, you will give thanks. Father, I thank you for the provision that is coming. I thank you for the miracle that is forming. I thank you for the restoration of my family. I thank you because I know you are faithful, and what you promised you will fulfill. And then you go about your day, but with a difference. You will live with expectation. You will be attentive to the signs. You will recognize the small provisions as heralds of the great ones. You will thank for the doors that open. You will celebrate every step of progress, no matter how small it seems. During these 40 days, there will be moments of doubt. Your mind will want to question. Circumstances may even worsen before improving, because the enemy will try to make you give up before the manifestation. But you will not yield. You will maintain the protocol. You will continue praying the psalm. You will continue declaring. You will continue believing. And I will tell you what will happen. Around the 10th or 15th day, you will begin to notice subtle changes, perhaps an unexpected conversation, perhaps an idea that comes out of nowhere, perhaps a person who approaches you with a proposal, perhaps a phone call that opens an opportunity. These are the first signs that the spiritual barrier is being broken. Around the 20th or 25th day, the changes will intensify. It could be money coming from sources you didn't even expect. It could be a debt being resolved in a surprising way. It could be a family member reaching out for reconciliation. It could be your mind gaining clarity about strategies you didn't see before. And when you reach the 40th day, if you have been faithful to the protocol, you will witness tangible transformation. I'm not saying all your problems will disappear, but you will see real progress. You will have concrete evidence that God is working in your situation. But there is something important you need to know. The 40 days are not a deadline for God to deliver. They are a deadline for you to become established in faith. Some blessings manifest quickly. Others take time because there are processes that need to happen, people that need to be moved, circumstances that need to align. But when you complete the 40 days faithfully, you don't go back to who you were before. You become a person of established faith, of unshakable trust, of constant expectation. Now, let me talk about something many pastors don't teach, but that is absolutely true. There is an aspect of spiritual battle involved in your financial provision and your family harmony. There are forces of darkness that profit from your scarcity, that feed on your despair, that strengthen themselves with your family division. When you start praying Psalm 37 with faith, you are not just asking for blessings. You are declaring spiritual war against the powers that have kept you and your family under scarcity and discord. And the enemy will react. He will try discouragement. He will bring distractions. He will intensify conflicts. He will put thoughts of doubt in your mind. But here is the glorious truth. The power that is with you is greater than the power that is against you. When you have God on your side, no matter how many demons rise against you, they are already defeated. They know this. That's why they try to bluff, try to intimidate, try to make you think nothing will change. But it's a lie. It's their desperation, not their power. Psalm 37 has spiritual authority because it was written by an anointed worshipper, a man after God's own heart, someone who overcame natural and spiritual giants. When you declare this psalm, you are aligning yourself with David's anointing. You are picking up the same sling that brought down Goliath and aiming it at the giants in your life. The giant of debt, the giant of family conflict, the giant of scarcity. And these giants will fall, not by your strength, not by your power, but by the Spirit of the Lord, because when God decides to bless, nothing and no one can stop it. When God decides to restore, all the forces of hell combined cannot keep things broken. Write in the comments what you would like God to hear right now. Open your heart. Declare your need, express your faith, because when you externalize your faith, it grows stronger. When you publicly witness your trust in God, you are creating a spiritual memorial that will be remembered when the miracle comes. There's one more powerful thing about Psalm 37 that I need to reveal. This psalm speaks a lot about inheritance. The word inheritance appears several times. Inheriting the land, inheriting the promises, inheriting the blessings. But what does it mean to inherit in a spiritual context? Inheriting is not gaining something new. Inheriting is receiving something that already belonged to your lineage, but was inaccessible. When you pray this psalm, you are not asking for something foreign. You are claiming something that is already yours by spiritual right. You are a child of God. You are an heir to the promises. The provision is already yours. The family restoration is already yours. The abundance is already yours. It was just blocked. And this psalm removes the blockages. It's like having a bank account with millions, but not having the password. The money is yours, but you can't access it. Psalm 37 is the password. It's the access code. It's the key that opens the vault of blessings with your name on it. And you know what's most beautiful? This psalm isn't just for you. When you pray it over your family, you are releasing inheritance for your children, for your grandchildren, for the generations that will come from you. You are breaking ancient curses and establishing new blessings. You are being the pioneer who changes the history of your lineage. Think with me. How many generations of your family have lived in scarcity? How many of your ancestors struggled financially? How many family relationships were destroyed by fights over money, over inheritance, over material things? This is a pattern. It's a generational curse. It's a cycle that repeats because no one had the courage to confront it in the spiritual realm. But you are here today because God chose you to be the chain breaker. You are going to be the one who says, "From now on, my family walks in prosperity and harmony." You are going to be the one who establishes a new pattern, and your descendants will look back and say, "It was in that generation that everything changed. It was when that person decided to believe, to pray, and not to give up." Doesn't that move you? Doesn't that ignite something inside you? You are not an accident. You are not here by chance. You were strategically positioned by God at this time in this place to be an agent of transformation. And it all starts with you taking hold of the promises in Psalm 37. Now I need to warn you about something. After you start praying this psalm consistently, your life will begin to change. And change is scary. Even good change is scary. Because change takes you out of your comfort zone, even if that zone is one of scarcity. There are people who are so afraid of the unknown that they prefer familiar poverty over unfamiliar prosperity. Don't be that person. When opportunities start to arise, seize them. When doors start to open, walk through them. When God starts to move you, move. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Do not wait to understand everything. God will lead you step by step, but you need to take the first step in faith. And about your family, when restoration begins, do not sabotage it. Often we are so accustomed to conflict that when peace comes, we do not know how to handle it. When that family member who was distant draws near, welcome them with an open heart. When an opportunity for conversation arises that can bring healing, do not run away. When God is working on reconciliation, cooperate with Him. Do not resist. Forgiveness will be necessary. On both sides. You will have to forgive those who hurt you, and you will have to ask for forgiveness for hurts you caused. And this hurts. But it is healing pain, not destructive pain. It is like cleaning a wound. It stings, but it is necessary so it does not get infected. Humility will be necessary. Acknowledge that you do not have all the answers. Acknowledge that you also made mistakes. Acknowledge that all of you need God to make this family work, but humility is the soil where miracles grow. Pride is barren ground. Humility is fertile ground. If you are feeling a weight in your heart now, it may be the Holy Spirit showing you someone you need to forgive or ask forgiveness from. Do not ignore it. Do not put it off for later. Write in the comments, "I choose forgiveness." And then, go do what needs to be done. Call, send a message, schedule a meeting, take the first step. Because look, financial provision and family harmony are more connected than you think. A family in harmony attracts blessings. A family in conflict repels blessings. When there is peace at home, there is room for prosperity. When there is war at home, the spiritual energy is all being spent on defense. There is nothing left for prosperity. That is why the enemy works so hard to create family divisions. He knows that if he can destroy the unity of the family, he automatically blocks prosperity. But when you use Psalm 37 not only to ask for money, but to ask for family restoration, you are attacking the problem at its root. You are closing the spiritual gaps through which blessings were escaping. Now let me give you a final secret about this psalm. It works better when shared. When you teach this psalm to your family, when you pray together, the power multiplies. One voice praying is already powerful. Two voices in agreement are exponentially more powerful. An entire family declaring the promises of Psalm 37 is an unstoppable spiritual force. Gather your family. It doesn't matter if it's 2, 3, or 10. Gather whoever is available and propose. Let's make a pact to pray Psalm 37 together for 40 days. Let's believe together. Let's declare together. Let's see God work together. Not everyone may agree right away. Some may be skeptical, but do not give up. Start alone if necessary. Start. And when the first signs of transformation appear, the others will want to join. Because testimony has power. When people see real results, their faith awakens. And even if no one in your family wants to pray with you, it's okay. You pray for them. You declare over them. You cover them spiritually. Because when one family member stands in intercession, the whole family receives coverage, even if they do not know it. There is tremendous power in family intercession. When you pray for your loved ones, you are creating a spiritual shield around them. You are closing gaps they themselves opened. You are attracting grace to situations that seemed impossible. You are being the priest of your home, even if they do not recognize you as such. And do not forget, Psalm 37 is not magic. It is not a charm. It is not an automatic formula. It is a spiritual principle that needs to be activated with genuine faith. You can read this psalm 1,000 times without faith and nothing happens. Or you can read it once with true faith and see heavens move. The difference is not in the number of repetitions. It depends on the quality of faith with which you pray. And true faith produces action. After praying, you act, you work, you make an effort, you do your part. Because God does not bless laziness, He multiplies effort. You plant, He waters. You sow, He multiplies. But there must be sowing. There must be work. There must be responsibility. If you are unemployed, keep praying the psalm but also send out resumes. If you are in debt, keep praying the psalm but also renegotiate your debts. If you have a broken family relationship, keep praying the psalm but also take steps toward reconciliation. Faith without works is dead. Works without faith are empty. But faith with works is spiritual dynamite. I have seen so many miracles happen with this psalm that I could spend hours sharing testimonies. I saw a man about to lose his house receive a job offer 3 times better than his previous one. I saw a woman up to her neck in debt being approached by creditors offering to forgive 70% of the debt. I saw families who hadn't spoken to each other for decades reconcile, crying in each other's arms. I saw companies on the verge of bankruptcy receive last-minute life-saving contracts. But do you know the most common miracle I see? It's not the money that comes. It's the transformation of the person who prays. It's seeing someone who lived in constant anxiety begin to have unexplainable peace. It's seeing someone who was bitter become generous. It's seeing someone who only complained start to give thanks. Because the greatest miracle is not changing your circumstances. It's changing you in the midst of your circumstances. And when you change, your circumstances automatically begin to change too. Because you attract what you are, not what you want. When you become a person of faith, you attract blessings. When you become a person of gratitude, you attract more reasons to be grateful. When you become a person of peace, you attract harmony. When you become a person of generosity, you attract provision. Psalm 37 works in you first, and through you it transforms your reality. It's not just about receiving from God. It's about becoming someone who lives by God's principles. It's about having the character that sustains the blessing. Because God will not give you something you don't have the character to manage. He first works in you, then works through you. That's why the 40 days are important. It's not about forcing God to answer you in 40 days. It's about you going through an inner transformation process that prepares you for the outer blessing. It's about breaking wrong mindsets. It's about establishing right habits. It's about building unshakable faith. And when the 40 days are over, don't stop praying Psalm 37. Make it part of your life. Read it weekly, meditate on it monthly, declare it constantly. Because this psalm is not just for crises, it's for your entire life. It's the principle of how to live in constant provision and harmony, not just in times of need. Now, I'm going to share something that might be the most important of all. Your expectation determines your harvest. If you pray Psalm 37 expecting to see changes, you will see changes. If you pray doubting that anything will happen, probably nothing will happen. Because God does not force blessings on skeptics. He responds to faith. Jesus constantly said, "Let it be done according to your faith, not according to my will, not according to your desire, according to your faith." Your faith is the measure. Your faith is the limit. Your faith is the channel. The greater your faith, the greater the flow of blessings. The firmer your trust, the quicker the manifestation. And how do you increase your faith? By listening, reading, declaring, testifying, remembering the times God has already helped you, celebrating the small victories, sharing with others, choosing to believe even when logic tells you to doubt. Faith is a spiritual muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. That's why this video is important. That's why you've come this far. Because every word you've heard, every truth that has touched your heart, every promise that has resonated in your spirit is strengthening your faith, and strengthened faith produces miracles. End. If this message has deeply touched your soul, share it with someone who is fighting a financial or family battle. Share it with someone who needs hope. Share it with someone who is about to give up. Because when you spread faith, you multiply faith, and multiplied faith brings collective revival. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so we can build an army of faith under the leadership of Jesus Christ.